I just needed to unmute it. Hi. You all got quiet, so I think it's time for us to start. Welcome. Thanks for joining us this afternoon for this special performance of Wondrous Love. This is made possible for us by a grant from the Bruce and Diane Holly Foundation, and we're grateful that they provide this as a gift to this community. We have several of these concerts over the course of a few years now, so we've got 2 more years with this grant. Glad to have it. Thanks again for being here today. The Passion of Christ is, at its heart, a beautiful love story. It's the story of God, in his boundless love, sending Jesus to be with us, to walk among his beloved creation, and share in our joys and our sorrows. Jesus came to dwell in our midst, so that we might experience the deep, intimate love of the Creator, a love that yearns to be with us, to share in our humanity, to draw us into communion. This overwhelming eternal love is pure and deep, with the Creator desiring just to be near us and to show the fullness of love in Jesus' every step. This incomparable love of Christ is the central thread that unites this concert today. Jesus' life was marked by love as he taught and served others in the name of the one who had sent him to live among us. Though many heard and received his message of love, ultimately some rejected him, leading to death on a cross. And as terrible as this was, frankly, it was not unprecedented. Throughout history, prophets and messengers of goodwill have been rejected and even killed for their messages. But this is where Jesus' story diverges from the others. The resilience of love did not end with that horrible crucifixion. God's unwavering commitment to humanity was not thwarted by the selfish actions of those who had rejected Jesus' teachings. In this story, love overcame hate. Life triumphed over death, and Jesus was raised from the dead. As the familiar Easter hymn proclaims, love's redeeming work is done. Fought the fight, the battle won. The passion story of Jesus is a love story. The story of God sending his one and only Son. The story of Jesus, who willingly came to share in our joys and our sorrows. The story of the resilience of love over rejection and death. The earthly ministry of Jesus was characterized by the same love God had demonstrated in sending his Son to dwell among us. Many who encountered Jesus were impacted in life-changing ways by the genuine love of this humble teacher from Galilee. One day, Jesus was asked by skeptical religious leaders to recite for them the greatest commandment of the law. And Jesus replied by saying, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment." But he also made clear that love did not end there. He affirmed that the next commandment was to love your neighbor as yourself. All of the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments, he said. Those who encountered Jesus were transformed by his love, and they challenged their lives to live their lives in that same spirit. Christ's message of love was a beacon of hope for a people whose hearts had grown weary and whose souls had lost their way. His words, full of compassion, reached deep into their spirits, sparking a yearning to encounter the God he spoke of in both ways new and profound. Wherever Jesus went, people gathered in great numbers, drawn by the light of his presence. In every place he touched, there were healings, signs of divine grace, and a promise of eternal love that transformed lives. His teaching spoke of a love that knew no bounds, a love that welcomed the saint and the sinner alike. For nearly 3 years, Jesus had walked among them, sharing the good news and calling all to follow the path of peace and reconciliation. That's a big word. Now he was journeying toward Jerusalem to celebrate the sacred feast of the Passover with his closest companions. And on this day, the crowds were filled with joyous anticipation of his arrival, more fervent than ever. And as Jesus entered Jerusalem, humbly riding on a donkey, the air was filled with cries of praise. The people waved palm branches and they shouted in unison, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the King of Israel." Their hearts rejoiced, for they saw in him the fulfillment of God's promise of salvation and love. How quickly the scene changed. In the moments following this triumphant entry into Jerusalem, a shadow began to fall, leading to his arrest. The one who had transformed hearts with his boundless love, arrested. Knowing the trials soon to come, Jesus gathered his disciples in an upper room to celebrate the Passover feast. His words to them were tender and compassionate. "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you," he said. If you keep my commandments, you will remain in my love. After sharing the meal and some intimate moments of teaching, Jesus and his closest followers went out to a place called Gethsemane. In those very dark hours, he surrendered fully to God's will, offering himself as a sacrifice for the world that he had come to love. On that sorrowful night, Jesus found himself rejected by some of the people that he had come to love. Even his closest followers would soon falter as he walked the path that was set before him in an act of humble submission. As Jesus was praying, a crowd armed with swords and clubs, sent by the religious leaders and led by Judas, arrived to arrest him. In an act of irony, Judas used a kiss to identify Jesus for the arrest. Jesus, whose life had been characterized by love and affection, had now been handed over to a mob motivated by hate, betrayed by a kiss of affection. He was taken to a place where he stood before the high priest, the chief priests, the elders, and the teachers of the law. Jesus was sentenced there to a criminal's death, crucifixion on a cross, mocked, beaten, rejected. He was led out to a place called the Skull to be crucified. The words of the prophet Isaiah had now been fulfilled in this ultimate act of love. He was despised and rejected, a man of sorrows and familiar with suffering. He was pierced for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him, and by his wounds we were healed. The prophet continues and he says, all we like sheep have gone astray. All of us have turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. in the first letter of St. John, we read, "This is how the love of God was revealed to us. God sent his one and only Son into the world that we might have life through him. In this is love. Not that we loved God, but that God loved us and sent us his Son." In the darkest hours of human history, the Son of God was nailed to a cross to die a criminal's death. Yet, even then, the prevailing theme was love as he asked God to forgive those responsible for his execution. As the hours passed, his body weakened, and Jesus displayed yet one more act of love and compassion to those closest to him. He instructed the disciple John to care for his mother, Mary. In those final moments, he again demonstrated the importance of loving God and each other. And then Jesus uttered his final words, "It's finished." And with that, he bowed his head and he died. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive power and wealth and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and praise. So for any liturgists in the room, fair warning, we're going to sing an Alleluia soon. And I know it's only Lent, so if you're watching on live stream, it's a concert. It's a concert. We're telling a story. You can't talk about Easter without singing a good Alleluia. Following his death, Jesus was buried in a tomb, and the entrance was sealed by a large stone. But the resiliency of love did not end with his crucifixion. God's unwavering commitment to the human race was not derailed by the selfish exploits of those who had rejected the claims of Christ. It was now dawn on the first day of the week, and Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, they went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake. An angel of the Lord had come down, and going to the tomb, he'd rolled it back and he sat on it. And the angel said to these women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you're looking for Jesus, who was crucified, but he's not here. He is not here because he is risen, just as he had promised. Now go quickly and tell his disciples that he is alive." In one final act of redeeming love, God overcame death with life. This wondrous love of Christ could not be defeated. Well, that's the end of the story right there. I want to thank you for being here for this concert today and letting us share this beautiful music with you. Just want to thank our amazing choir who's been working at this for weeks and weeks, the Casa Choir. And I'm delighted to have these beautiful musicians joining us. I want to thank them. First of all, behind the piano, Richard Guerra. Amazing, he's with us every week. On guitar, who's with us every Sunday, Peter Torsiello. On bass, who's with us every week, Steve Anderson. On flute, she's been playing with us, we think, decades now. It's over 20 years at least. Jeannie Pierce, Dr. Jeannie Pierce. Our oboist, Maya Dinger. On clarinet, who actually went through our OCIA program here at the Casa last year and is now Catholic and joined our community, Tim Haas. A young violinist who's new with us, and this is his first performance with us, Gabe Allen. Beautiful, Gabe. On cello, Gina Cho. Beautiful. Thank you, Gina. On French horn, who just completed her doctorate program 2 days ago? 3 days ago. She completed Dr. Bailey Hendley. And on trumpet, Paul Reed, who is about to finish his doctorate program, in like a week? Maybe another semester, but he's on his way. Paul Reed. And last but not least, I have to introduce our timpanist. This is Nicholas Vicani, and some of you might recognize the name. His dad, Mark Vicani's been a lector here for years. His mother, Beth, they met in the choir years ago. He was baptized here at the Casa 18 years ago. And this is his first time playing with us, Nicholas Vicani. Somebody asked, how do you do this kind of music at a time when there's so much turmoil in the world? And a quote of Leonard Bernstein's that has driven me for quite some time is recorded. He is said to have said this right after the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And there was a performance scheduled for that night, and they said, how can you go on and do this in the face of this horrible thing? And I'm paraphrasing, so forgive me, but he said, our response in the face of such violence and awfulness is to simply make music more beautifully, more passionately. I get emotional just thinking about this than ever before, because that's what will heal us. That will be the triumph of the mind, is to recognize beauty and celebrate it where it is. So that's what drives us to do this kind of an event, and I'm really grateful for the Bruce and Diane Holly Foundation for giving us the resources to be able to provide this and to make these kinds of things happen. So thank you again to them. Yes. They're very generous to the Renewal Center and specifically to the music ministries, so I'm grateful. We'd like to send you out with a reprise of one of the brighter songs, a theme that we're going to be singing on Palm Sunday, Blessed is He Who Comes in the Name of the Lord, and hopefully we'll be whistling this all the way home. Oh, and I failed to mention the soloist on this song, one of our own cantors and song leaders, Aaron Richardson.
Who Zwickle